Her brother was saying I was a loser. Then I heard her reply calm cold. Don't worry, I'm already working on the divorce. My lawyer says we can take half his business. I was halfway through prepping dinner for my wife's entire family when her mom casually mentioned needing a few more chairs for the backyard. No big deal. We were hosting 10 people and I'd already grilled chicken, marinated vegetables, made 3 dips from scratch, and baked 2 cakes the night before. I didn't mind playing host. I'd done it a dozen times before. I thought it was normal. Our garage was just a few steps off the kitchen. As I stepped in to grab the foldables stacked near the back wall, I paused when I heard voices. Not just voices, my wife's voice and her brother. They were standing on the far side of the garage, just past the second fridge. I couldn't see them immediately, but their voices were crystal clear. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I didn't expect to hear anything. I thought they were maybe talking about work or sports, or the usual family gossip. But what her brother said next didn't just stop me in my track. It changed the way I saw my entire life. I still can't believe you married this loser, he said, laughing under his breath. Dad's right. You need to divorce him before you have kids and get stuck forever. Silence. Then her voice. I'm already working on it, she replied. My lawyer says we can take half his business too. I froze. There were 2 chairs in my hands, and I was suddenly aware of how tightly I was gripping them. My fingers ached. I don't remember breathing for at least 30 seconds. I stood there in complete disbelief, replaying those exact words over and over in my head. My lawyer, half his business, already working on it. I stepped back before they saw me. I didn't know what I looked like, but my body was on autopilot. I went around through the side door, took a moment to breathe, then entered the house with a smile. I handed off the chairs like nothing had happened. My wife kissed my cheek and told me I was amazing for organizing everything. Her brother gave me that usual fake smile I now realized was probably always fake. I spent the rest of the dinner watching them, not just casually observing, really watching. The way her brother looked at me with that smug, knowing grin. The way my wife avoided eye contact whenever I asked if she needed help with anything. She laughed too loudly at things that weren't funny. She called me babe with this overly cheerful tone that now felt forced. Couldn't eat. They devoured the food, complimented everything. Her mom said I was such a great addition to the family, and I nearly laughed out loud. Every word, every gesture suddenly felt like part of some stage play where I was the only one who didn't know my role was already written out. That night, after they left, she climbed into bed beside me like nothing was wrong. She cuddled up, asked if we could watch that series we'd been binging together. I said sure. My voice cracked a little, but she didn't notice. I spent the night staring at the ceiling, pretending not to hear her soft snore beside me. By the next morning, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Instead, I needed to figure out exactly how much she had already planned, and who else was involved. The morning after the dinner, she greeted me with a kiss on the cheek and a bright, "Thanks again for yesterday, babe. You killed it." I smiled, nodded, told her I had some client calls to make. That was technically true. I own a small but growing digital branding agency. Work from home has its perks, especially when you need to disappear into another room and think without interruption. But I wasn't planning campaign. I was scanning every financial record we had. I started with the shared account, then my private business account. I looked at transactions, subscriptions, credit card charges. First, it was nothing major. Grocery runs, streaming services, spa appointments, a few Amazon purchases that didn't seem off. Then I noticed a $750 retainer paid to a law office. Not in her name, but from our joint account. The name wasn't familiar. I Googled it. Family law and divorce specialist. Convenient. She hadn't mentioned a consultation. She hadn't said anything about lawyers for any reason. I cross-checked the day of the transaction with my calendar. That day, I'd taken her brother to the airport. She told me she'd be home cleaning up, prepping for her mom's birthday dinner. I remembered texting her a photo of a delay board at the terminal and her saying, "Ugh, I hate airports." Guess she wasn't really focused on that. Next step, I called my lawyer. Told him I needed to schedule a meeting, urgently. I'd helped him revamp his firm's website last year. He owed me one. When I explained the basics, he didn't say much. Just paused for a beat and said, "Start documenting everything. And don't let her know you know." Not yet. That night, I brought home sushi. Her favorite. Acted normal. Told her I had a surprise weekend getaway planned. She lit up like it was Christmas. Hugged me. Told me I was the best. She had no clue I just pulled every file from our business server and backed it all to a private cloud account with password-only access. No clue I'd ordered a tiny voice recorder from an online spy store and had it shipped to a P.O. box under a different name. That Friday night, while she was in the shower, I installed the voice recorder under her vanity drawer in the bathroom. It had a motion sensor. It wouldn't record unless someone moved or talked near it. The battery lasted 48 hours. By Sunday, I had over 90 minutes of audio, and what I heard made my stomach twist. In one clip, she called someone, probably her mother, and said, "Once we finalize it, I'll tell him I'm leaving. But I want the business. The house too. He won't fight. In another, she said if I play nice for a few more weeks, he won't see it coming. He's too soft. It's already done. She laughed. It wasn't just her brother. Her entire family knew. They were waiting for me to get comfortable, complacent, distracted enough that I'd never think to question why she was so sweet lately or why they kept hinting at kids like we were building something real. It was never about building. It was about taking. And I was done playing clueless. The first person I looped in was my accountant. I didn't give him the whole story, just told him I was reviewing protections for the business, looking into restructuring. He's worked with high-profile cases before, so he didn't ask many questions. Just nodded, said he'd make some calls, and got to work. Next, I created a new LLC. Quietly, I transferred a portion of my liquid assets and client contracts into that structure, citing testing a niche division. From the outside, it looked like an expansion. Internally, it was a lifeboat. 2 weeks passed. I kept smiling, kept cooking. We had game nights, movie marathons. She planned brunches and told friends how lucky she was. I played dumb, nodding along, all while setting legal landmines behind the scenes. I started making subtle adjustments to the house too. One day, while she was shopping with her mom, I removed a hidden camera I'd installed last year for security and moved it to face our home office instead. Not obvious, just enough to catch her if she ever snooped. And then, out of nowhere, she brought it up. We were sitting on the couch and she leaned in with this practiced sweetness and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about our future. Kids, the business, us." My blood ran cold, but I kept my face relaxed. She continued, "Would you ever consider putting my name on the business? Not as a co-owner, just as a precaution. You know, in case something happens to you. Like a safety net." There it was, the soft launch of her real plan. I tilted my head, pretending to ponder. "That's smart," I said. "We should totally talk about that soon." She smiled like she'd won, like I had no idea what was happening. But I'd already moved 70% of the company's assets out of reach, renamed the key contracts under the new LLC, and locked down anything that wasn't essential to daily operations. I had my lawyer draft up a revision to our prenuptial agreement, something she thought we both lost in a flood when our storage unit had that pipe burst last year. I never lost my copy. She just didn't know I'd scanned and encrypted it. The next day, I found it. I left it in the kitchen by accident, just sitting there. Her reaction was immediate. She looked pale. Eyes flicked from the paper to me, and she said, "Where did you find this?" "Oh, I was going through old files for tax stuff. Can you believe we almost forgot about this?" She tried to play cool, but I could see the storm building behind her eyes. That night, I turned the recorder back on and left it in the hallway near our bedroom. She called someone, said he found the prenup. "No, I don't think he knows, but I need to push the timeline. If we wait too long, I might lose the house." That's when it hit me. It wasn't just about the business. She was going to try and take everything, and I had no idea what else she had planned. But I was done reacting. It was time to strike first. I planned it all down to the minute. No detail was left untouched. I gave her no reason to suspect a thing. She still thought I was blind. We were 3 weeks out from the dinner where it all started. Her family had started asking when we'd host again. Her mom texted us in the group chat about planning for grandbabies. Her brother sent me a YouTube video about 10 business tips every entrepreneur needs, like I was some clueless newbie. I smiled. I replied. I played along because I needed them relaxed. I needed her confident, and she was. Her entire demeanor had shifted. She got more affectionate, made me lunch, folded my laundry. She even lit candles at dinner. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or manipulation, but either way, I knew she was getting ready to pull the trigger. It was only a matter of time before she made her move. So I made mine first. I told her I wanted to throw a private dinner. Just the two of us. I said I missed us. That I felt we'd grown distant. She ate that up like it was her last meal. Oh my God, yes. That's exactly what we need. She wore her best dress. The red one I used to love before I saw her for who she really was. She did her hair, her nails, her makeup. Asked if she looked beautiful. "You always do," I said. We had steak. Her favorite wine. I even made dessert from scratch. She laughed. She leaned into me. She held my hand. And I acted like I didn't know she was preparing to ruin me. But this time I was recording. I didn't use the spy recorder. I wanted something cleaner, more professional. I'd installed a set of tiny omnidirectional mics hidden in the dining room wall sockets. High quality. Motion activated. Timestamp. I waited until dessert before I brought it up. "I've been thinking," I said, carefully laying down my fork. "You were right, a while ago, about protecting our future." She blinked. Yeah, I said, locking eyes. "So I talked to my lawyer, and I think we should revisit the prenup. Maybe make some changes. Make sure everything's fair." She went pale. Froze mid-bite. I mean, that makes sense," she said too quickly. "What kind of changes?" "I was thinking about the house, the business, maybe setting up a joint trust. Something where if anything happens, it's already decided." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's so smart. "Honestly, babe, I'm proud of you for thinking about this." I nodded. She had no clue the lawyer I mentioned wasn't mine. It was hers. I'd contacted him days earlier using a fake referral from someone he knew. I'd pretended to be a new client interested in filing for divorce. The man didn't even recognize my name because she'd filed under her maiden name. He had no clue I was the husband she was plotting against. During our fake consult, he accidentally mentioned a pending asset division case that mirrored mine exactly. That was all I needed, but I'd gotten more. I hired a private investigator. A real one. Not someone off Craigslist. He was ex-police. Knew how to track digital fingerprints. Knew how to stay quiet. In less than than 5 days, he handed me a 47-page dossier on my wife's financial activity, lawyer communications, and most damning of all, emails between her and my business partner. Turns out, the betrayal ran deeper than I'd thought. Not only was she planning to take my business, she had help from someone inside. Someone I trusted. Someone I'd built the company with from the ground up. The emails were sickening. She has no clue he's even doing this, one message read. He's got the contracts. Once we file, we'll hit him with everything, another said. They were planning to gut me from the inside, but the timing was off. She thought she had weeks to tighten her case. File quietly. Serve me with papers after transferring as much of the company as she could. She didn't know I'd already pulled every major contract, emptied the shared business accounts into a holding account under the new LLC, and frozen access to everything else. My partner was already being reviewed by our lawyer for breach of contract and collusion. He'd signed documents that forbid exactly the kind of backdoor deal he tried to pull. Ironically, I was the one who insisted on those clauses when we started. I sat across from her that night, knowing I had it all. And then I dropped the bomb. You know what's weird? I said casually, sipping my wine. I've been having these dreams lately, where you're planning something ugly. She laughed nervously. What? No. What kind of dreams? The kind where someone I love is smiling at me while holding a knife behind their back. Her face twitched. She reached for her glass. And the wild part, I continued, is that in the dream, I smile back, because I already took the knife from her hand. She was silent. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer where I'd placed a printed copy of the emails, the financial records, the prenup, and a copy of the investigator's report. I dropped the folder on the table in front of her. I'm not the soft man you think I am, I said calmly. I was just giving you time to hang yourself with your own lies. She opened the folder. Her eyes darted, scanned, froze, scanned again. What is this? She whispered. You tell me, I said. She pushed back from the table, nearly knocked over her wine. This is illegal. You can't. I can, I interrupted. Because you filed your retainer using our joint account. You used my business records without consent. And you conspired with a co-owner to dismantle my company without informing me, which, if you read the updated partnership agreement I had him sign last year, means you both just opened yourselves up to a civil lawsuit. Her lips trembled. I kept going. I also have recordings. Of you and your brother. Of you and your mom. And of you planning it all in that bathroom you think is private. Her eyes widened. I'm not using them yet, but if you push me, I will. She said nothing. You're going to sign this, I said, sliding another sheet across the table. It's a revised postnup. You get nothing from the business. No stake in the house. No assets. But I won't press charges, and I won't expose the recordings yet. She stared at the paper. You're bluffing, she finally said. Try me, I replied. She didn't move, so I pulled out my phone, played a 7-second clip of her voice saying, if I play nice for a few more weeks, he won't see it coming. He's too soft. Her face crumpled. You recorded me? You tried to rob me. Silence. Then she asked, voice trembling, can we talk about this? We just did, I said. And I walked out. She didn't follow me out that night. Not to the porch. Not to the guest room where I locked the door behind me. The house stayed dead quiet. I didn't hear crying. I didn't hear rage. Just silence. And that scared me more than anything. By morning, she was gone. No note. No text. No keys on the counter. She'd packed a bag. Not everything. Just enough. A few drawers were open. One makeup pouch was missing. Her favorite sweater was gone from the hanger. I didn't chase her. Instead, I called my lawyer and emailed the updated postnup and signed. I attached a detailed timeline of everything I had, including the investigator's documents and the recordings. He said the case could go either way in court, but if we pushed hard enough, she'd probably fold before it even made it that far. By noon, her brother called me. That surprised me. He opened with, what the hell did you do? I laughed. You mean, what did she do? She's with us, he snapped. And she's a mess. You scare the hell out of her. She says you threatened her. Oh, I did more than that, I said. I dismantled the fantasy she thought she'd get to live off of for the next 20 years. He started shouting, so I hung up. 10 minutes later, her mother called. Listen, sweetheart, she said, using the tone she always used when she wanted something. I know emotions are high, but this is your wife we're talking about. Marriage is hard. Things get said in anger. I cut her off. Anger? That wasn't anger. That was a coordinated attempt to rob me. Silence. I have the recordings I added. So if you're calling to beg, don't bother. If you're calling to threaten, I suggest you don't. She paused, then said, you're making a huge mistake. No, I made a mistake 3 years ago when I married into your family. I'm just correcting it now. I blocked her number. After that, things escalated fast. She must have panicked because a leak of half the story made its way to her social circle. Mutual friends started texting. Half of them heard that I emotionally manipulated her, that I hoarded business income, and that she wasn't sure how safe the marriage was anymore. Classic peer spin. I didn't respond, not even once, because 2 days later, the real twist hit. My business partner, the one who was in on it, tried to beat me to court, filed a motion claiming I had violated our co-founder agreement by transferring company assets without board approval. It almost worked. Almost, but he didn't know know that I'd already replaced the board. Quietly, months ago, after a messy falling out with another advisor, I'd had the voting rights rewritten to reflect majority ownership, which he no longer had. So when his motion was reviewed, it got bounced. But the damage wasn't just legal, it was personal. Clients started calling, asking if we were dissolving the company, if the rumors were true, if my marriage was falling apart. I held a private Zoom meeting with my top 10 clients and told them a hostile party attempted to breach our security, but we were stronger than ever. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. That same week, I issued a formal buyout offer to my partner at 30% below value. Brutal, but legal. He declined, so I triggered the termination clause I had baked into our revised agreement. One violation of fiduciary trust. That's all I needed. He was out within 72 hours. His office was cleared by Monday, and just like that, her entire plan collapsed. She hadn't just bet on breaking up a marriage. She bet on breaking a business. She bet on me staying silent, staying soft, staying the version of me she had created in her head, the one who cooked and cleaned and played house while she schemed behind closed doors. But she didn't bet on the version of me that builds things from scratch and protects them with teeth. The final hit came when she tried to get back in touch. Through email, it read, "I know things got messy. I want to talk. Maybe there's still something to fix. We were happy once. You were my best friend. Please don't shut me out like this. I made mistakes. We both did." I stared at it for a long time, not because I was tempted, but because I couldn't believe how someone could lie, plot, backstab, and then cry when the mask came off. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my lawyer. Let him decide what to do with it. 3 weeks after her email, the dust had almost settled. The house was quiet. My inbox wasn't. Legal back and forth. Asset freezes. NDA drafts. My lawyer had officially filed for divorce on my behalf. I still hadn't replied to her. Not a word. And then came the unexpected twist. A letter arrived, not from her lawyer, not from hers or mine, but from the IRS. I scanned the header. There it was. Her name, my business name, her brother's name, all flagged under a collaborative fraud inquiry. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Some algorithm glitch. But then I got a call from my accountant. He sounded pale, shaky, like he hadn't slept. "You're gonna want to sit down," he said. Her brother? The one who called me a loser in the garage? He had tried to invest in a crypto scheme last year. Lost everything. And then he forged documents that claimed my business had funded his startup losses. He submitted a fake investor agreement under my company's name, which meant federal authorities were now pulling every file from our past tax filing. Every cent that moved through that joint account. Every gift or loan she funneled to him without my knowledge. I didn't just catch them trying to take me down. They accidentally set themselves up for criminal fraud charges. She thought this would end in court with her getting the house, the car, a fat alimony check. Now she was facing charges alongside her brother for tax fraud, document forgery, and collusion. And the worst part? She dragged her parents into it, because in one of the forged documents, her father's signature appeared as a witness. When I forwarded that detail to my lawyer, he looped in a forensic analyst. That signature? Not real. Someone traced it. Sloppily. Within 10 days, her entire family was under investigation. Bank accounts flagged. Passports frozen. The whole plan spiraled into a legal nightmare that I had nothing to do with because I never signed any of those papers. I never moved that money. They did, without consent, without knowledge. I was the loser in the garage. Now I was the star witness in a multi-person federal case. And then came the final knock. It was late, maybe 10:30 p.m. I just shut down my laptop when the doorbell rang. I checked the camera. It was her, alone, hair down, no makeup, hoodie, sweatpants, eyes red like she hadn't slept in days. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "I didn't know he did that," she whispered. "I never agreed to fraud. I was scared. I didn't want to lose everything." I nodded. She looked at me like she still expected mercy. Like part of her thought maybe we could rewind time, rewrite the story. But we couldn't. I leaned against the doorframe. Let her talk. Let her cry. And when she finally said the words, "Please, help me," I replied calmly, "You plan to destroy me for money. Now you're drowning because of the same greed." She begged, literally fell to her knees on my porch. I didn't lift a finger. "I'm not your lifeline," I said. "I was your target." I closed the door, locked it, and went to bed.